Welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you on this not too bad night on Tuesday. We want to welcome you to the Arise Now Community Talk. I'm Oakley Ryan, and for better or worse, I'm going to be your host tonight. So during the day, my day job is I have a consulting firm, Witten House, and I focus on organizational leadership and strategy consulting. I'm also very honored and privileged to work with a lot of the community organizations that are here tonight, and I want to thank you for being here. We've got Rock County Historical Society, of course, JPAC. We've got the Janesville Jets. Rock soccer is one of my passions, too, and it's just super to be here. I'm also a member of the Arise Now steering that you're going to hear about tonight, and proud to be a member of our chamber, the Forward Janesville organization, and the board there. So, Arise Now. Downtown, revitalizing the heart, as Larry Squire likes to say, of our community. So it's going to be a wonderful evening, interactive. Yes, you get to participate, but we want to take you on a little journey because we're in a theater and it's about creative ideas and experiencing different things. So with that, our maestro over there, Mike, is going to take us on a little flyover of your downtown. Thanks, Mike. What's kind of crazy about that is I think all of us got used to simulation models about downtown, and now some of that is real, right? And that's what's so exciting about that. So most importantly, I want to thank you all for being here because you really can't have a community talk without a community. And I think this is a great show for people who are interested in downtown. So I want to just give a couple thanks to people who were instrumental behind this. JPAC staff just jumped to it right when we came up with this idea, and they surpassed in expectations bringing in technology. I'd like Janesville JATV is here. Thank you so much. This is my best side. I want to thank Angus Young and Batterman who went to work making sure we had our most up-to-date slides of the images and the things going on. I want to thank Stage One. How many of you got to see Annie the last 2 weekends? That was just a phenomenal show, amazing talent, and I was here at the 2 o'clock show, and they cleaned the stage and set. So thank you very much, Mike, for Stage One. Also want to thank Blackhawk Community Credit Union for Sherry. You're having the drinks and the food thanks to that wonderful credit union. And also I want to thank the Janesville Jets for hosting. So they were moving furniture on Monday for Christine at the Visitor and Convention Bureau and ringing bells, and I think they're also excited to hear about the downtown that they spend a lot of time in. So with that, let's go to the goal of our community talk. We've got 4 goals. We're ambitious, but hey, we're Janesville. We want to continue to engage in what's happening downtown. And just for the record, this is not the first time that we've talked about downtown. So many of these faces are familiar, and so many of you have been involved in community talks. Dwayne is going to share some of those community engagement opportunities that happened to develop their RISE plan. Certainly, there's been conversations when Forward Janesville hosted the Business Expo last October, a year ago, and launched the 2 major gifts. There have been other conversations, and I can't imagine the number of conversations that DGI and the bid and the conversations you've been having for years. But this is a free and open to the public, and we want to make sure that this is how our community is developed, with everyone feeling open and accessible to be able to participate, and we're excited to have you here. We want to share information so that you can then ask further questions. So we're going to have a question session, and if we run out of time or you're not sure you want to ask the question in this forum, you all got surveys. So it's not a test. The only test is you have to complete it. And we're going to ask you to complete that at the end of that. It's really important because we want to know from you, what do you want to know about? What information would you like us to dive deeper into so that we can develop these talks based on our community input? And then hopefully, we want you to be more engaged with downtown as a result of being here tonight. So the format, we've got a panel. They're excited to be here. They all picked their favorite seat. And just to give you a feel of the panel, I would ask you to view this session tonight as an Arise Now, a Downtown 101. Right? We've all been in classes where you get to the first 101 and you get a lot of information. So we're going to be covering different organizations, different projects, because we want to give you that foundational view so that you can then decide where you want to dig deeper, where you want to get more engaged, who you want to go talk to, what you want more information is. Okay, so kind of fasten your seatbelts a little. We've got some great information. We'll make sure that the slides are available on the website for this. We're going to take questions. We've got the survey, and then, yes, the food arrives. So that will be out in the lobby. We've got the tables set up. We thank everyone for participating in that. You'll notice there are organizations down there that aren't maybe official Arise Now partners. Let's set the record straight. If you live in Janesville, if you're part of this community, you're part of Arise Now because you're part of downtown revitalization. So we're thrilled to have the library. We're thrilled to have Rock River Charter School. We're thrilled to have RCHS at the community tables out there. You can hashtag, tell me if I'm doing this right, Nate, Downtown Janesville. He's live streaming this. I'm not sure what that means, but there's a camera over there. And if you're not here, but you're watching us live on Facebook, you'll be able to submit questions. With that, our panelists. We've got Dwayne Cherrick, is the Director of Planning Services, has spent 17 years with the City of Janesville and certainly has a perspective and helps implement the strategic plan initiatives. I'll go down. We've got Dave Marshik, who's First Vice President of National Trust, has been involved with downtown development for 15 years. Do you work in downtown anymore? But he's still around and passionate. Mick Gilbertson is the principal of Developing Edge, an amazing architect and designer, and really probably well known with Jane and Mick, really rehabilitated, refurbished, and revitalized the Armory, and it's still a wonderful institution today. We've got Sherry Stump, our CEO of Blackhawk Community Credit Union, and a host of other things, including the chairman of the Forward Janesville Board and Arise Now chair. We've got Jo Lynn Burden, who is the jack of all trades for Arise Now and is the director, is no stranger to community involvement, and is also the mom of Rex, the famous dog that was in People. So she's his agent. Emily Arthur is the smiling face. I keep following her around downtown Janesville, try to find her in a grumpy mood. It's hard. She is the executive director of the Business Improvement District of Janesville, and also the Farmers Market. And then last but not least, Nate Burkhart, our executive director of JPAC, and someone I'm proud to say we recruited from Los Angeles. So that's our panel. Let's give them a warm welcome for being here. So with the panel, we're going to kick off, really give you a foundational view. And that obviously must start with the Arise plan, the playbook. And so with that, Dwayne.
Well, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you this evening about all the wonderful transformation that's occurring in downtown Janesville. The city is going through a very unique time in its history right now, and it's fun to be a part of that. The Arise plan. What is the Arise plan when we talk about Arise? Arise, and I guess the lengthy name that we give to that plan is the Rock Renaissance Area Redevelopment and Implementation Strategy. What is that? That's essentially the city's downtown revitalization plan along the riverfront. But this is not just an ordinary plan. This is is a special document. It's a playbook for action. And it's one that was prepared using a lot of community input. It's one that started with an idea. It started with an idea spurred on by the need to address the failing parking plaza that extended over the Rock River in the town square. That led to a number of discussions, ultimately an implementation strategy, and then meaningful action that's taken place, providing a number of improvements in the downtown area. And when we talk about the playbook for action, one of the principal guidelines for that is this document that provides a resource to identify the barriers for redevelopment in the downtown, and gives us the tools to look at specific properties and understand environmental conditions, market conditions, and other challenges that affect those properties. And so that's what's been established. Next slide, please. As we embarked on that process about 5 years ago. The plan itself was created or established centered around a community-wide vision. And those goals, paramount to the plan, look at making downtown the heart of the community, essentially creating a fun, vibrant place to be. We want to create a destination, activate the downtown. We want to preserve our historical character and the authenticity of downtown as part of that process. We want to take the river and embrace it. We want to change how the city, how the downtown in particular has been developed around the Rock River, and utilize it for the asset that extends through the community, the heart of the community. And then lastly, following the city's lead with providing public infrastructure to transform the town square, to promote, encourage new private investment and redevelopment in a market-driven portion of our community. Next slide, please. So Arise includes areas on both sides of downtown along the riverfront, essentially extending from Traxler Park on the north down to the Jackson Street Bridge to the south. The centerpiece of Arise is the town square, the area that you see in red that formerly occupied an 80,000 square foot concrete parking plaza that extended across the river. South of the town square along South Water Street is the area that includes the former Rock County Jail site as a catalytic redevelopment site. It includes a series of historic buildings along South Main Street to the north, and then it includes another catalytic redevelopment target area south of Traxler Park extending to Centerway. On the west bank of the river, it includes the former West Milwaukee Street parking lot and Chase Bank building. And then lastly, to the south, a 2-block section of some older industrial buildings situated between South River and South Franklin Street. Next slide, please. I spoke a little bit about the community involvement and preparation of the plan. The city intentionally embarked on a very public, very extensive, community-wide public involvement process. We had numerous workshops, created a website, had a variety of public informational events, and tried to get a broad cross-section of the community, everyone involved in this plan. We had a lot of smart people involved in creating this plan, a lot of diversity of ideas that ultimately led to this implementation strategy with specific recommendations for redevelopment on specific properties in each of those catalytic locations that I mentioned earlier. Next slide, please. This was the original town square vision as adopted by the City Council in February 2015. And what this rendering shows is the combination of elements that the community wanted to see in the core of the downtown district. Activating the river, creating some meaningful open space along the West Bank, utilizing the street in a new and a different way with the Festival Street concept. looking at ways to enhance some of the features that you see down there today and will soon come. And what's happened is the community has taken that several steps further. Next slide, please. This is a much refined plan view section of the town square, which includes, it's hard to see, but we have displays downstairs if you'd like to take a look after the discussion. All of the elements that are designed, most of which are complete on the west side, and what's expected on the east side. It shows how the Festival Street anchors the west side and extends the west bank of the town square, and also looks at Water Street, which is the extension between Milwaukee Street and Court Street to the south behind Old Town Mall, that tries to replicate some of those Festival Street components of what you see on the west side. And I'll talk a little bit about the schedule as we move forward. Next slide, please. So where are we today? Today, we've completed construction and about 6 weeks ago had the grand opening for the Festival Street on the west side. Nearly complete, have nearly completed all of the West Bank improvements as well as the Court Street two-way street conversion. Moving forward into 2019, the major project in terms of public infrastructure is reconstruction of the Milwaukee Street Bridge, which is anticipated to be complete late summer, August timeframe. And then you'll hear more tonight about the pedestrian bridge connection between both sides of the town square. 2020, the blue highlighted band on the east bank will move forward with implementation and construction of those elements to complement the style of features that you see on the west bank. And then finally in 2021, some of you have likely heard about reconstruction and rehabilitation of the West Milwaukee Street corridor, extending from River Street west to the 5 Points intersection, and that will include a variety of improvements, beautification, streetscaping, benches, trees, lots of opportunities, as well as enhanced traffic flow to coincide with accessibility and pedestrian-friendly movements in the downtown. Next slide, please. Not even 2 years ago, this activity was occurring. Removal of the parking deck over the Rock River. Next slide. As little as 6 months later, we were launching the town square, the west side celebration to look at access provided to the river and the creation of the river lawn on the west side. Next slide. As I mentioned, a few weeks ago, we had fun on the Festival Street. And if you look at the different illustrations provided, the town square has been not only complete on the west side, but specifically enhanced with some of these upgraded improvements that include gateway features, decorative lighting, decorative street lighting and poles, the J.P. Cullen Memorial Pavilion, an interactive water feature, and a lot of things that came about through continuous efforts and discussion and interest in the downtown. Next slide, please. This is just a quick illustration showing the West Milwaukee Street Bridge, intended to replicate the design of the 1913 bridge that's extended its useful life. Next slide. The limits of that public infrastructure project will extend from Main Street on the east across the river over to River Street on the west. So it'll include more than just the bridge itself, but connecting those two corridors downtown. Next slide. I mentioned the east side. There are details of at least preliminary plans at this time downstairs after the session that you can look at, but this will come forward in 2020. Next slide. And then the Cobblestone Hotel, one of the private redevelopments on one of the riverfront catalytic sites that I mentioned earlier. This building is located at the northeast corner of River Street and Milwaukee Street, and will include a 53-room hotel with a restaurant, indoor pool, exercise room, outdoor dining on the river, exactly the type of land use that was envisioned in the plan and actually occurring a bit earlier than we had originally projected. So there's interest occurring, activity occurring. The goal was to spur private redevelopment and continue to utilize underutilized buildings more so in the downtown. Next slide. I like to end with this one because it shows how far we've come and the bright future that we have. I really think the sky's the limit. It's super exciting for city staff to see all the progress. We're working at a fast pace. There's a lot going on and a lot of change occurring, but this is a great time in the city's history. And so happy to answer any questions and look forward to those as we continue. Thanks.
That's great. Thanks, Frank. Jolynn, I don't know about the folks not, but I get the question, arise now, is it the same thing? And I'm like, oh no, it's not, but it's related. So Jolynn, arise now.
Very good. So I'm going to walk you through Arise Now, leaving that beautiful photo. So you've heard about Arise through Dwayne, originally adopted in February of 2015. It was really the blueprint. You heard all about that as a redevelopment plan. And so Arise Now, created in 2016, is the public-private partnership. They're the group that ensures that the Arise plan takes place, that it's seen through, that it's achieved and is strengthened through all of its plans. 4 of the major goals underneath Arise Now is placemaking. First one, to make downtown Janesville iconic. When we talk about placemaking, it's starting with one location, doing it right, doing it well, getting people involved, and then let's extend out. Let's keep moving. So we started in Town Square, and certainly you've all seen some of the improvements down there. Activating spaces by supporting efforts to draw people downtown. Really, these plans, they're more than about building buildings. They're more than about facilities. They're more than green grass. It's having a place to go. It's having a place to bring your family, a place to hold an event, a festival, somewhere to go take your homecoming or your wedding photos. Connecting downtown's area together and the community at large. Ensuring the walkability, isn't that what downtowns are for? Is for connecting businesses, for community events, for walking from location to location. It might be more than a block that we have to walk these days. And exploring opportunities that will enhance the overall experience. So it's really keeping your mind open and thinking, who are we involved with? What are the resources? And let's be that agent for change. Let's always think about what's next. Remove some of those barriers and keep moving down the road. So Arise Now's strategy is really to ensure a community-wide vision and community-wide effort to raise the private funds to implement these iconic downtown projects. Next slide, please. So who is Arise Now? It's more than me standing here. Certainly, we are governed by a committee structure, again, established a couple of years ago, that we represent a cross-section of the public-private group. That primarily purpose is to set, review, and execute the overall direction and goals, the direction and goals of the Arise plan. Build momentum. You've seen time and time again that you build something and people will come. Well, let's keep that momentum going. What's next? Be opportunistic. So think outside the box. What are the things that we're missing? Let's have these community engagement forums like this. Let's all talk, share your ideas. Let's be opportunistic. Leverage resources, kind of what I just talked about. We've got a lot of great community partners, very thoughtful people that have lived here for many years. Let's all work together and use our resources together. Engage through education, events like this, outreach opportunities to really educate the public and get everybody involved. Keep a long-term horizon. So this is a journey. It's not an event that'll take 6 months or 12 months. You know, it might be a couple years. It might be even longer. We've been talking about it for a long time, but let's keep the focus on the long-term horizon. Solve problems. That's working together. And then, of course, focus on partnerships, which is really what we're talking a lot about tonight. Next slide, please. So who represents the committee? I'm not going to go through all the names there. You can read them, but it's a group of, I think there's 18 or 20 of us, a lot of folks that represent organizations from the city to DJI to the Performing Arts Center, Forward Janesville, downtown businesses, community businesses. We've got some folks from the city council, and then a few retired folks being part of our art committee. So great group of individuals that are all putting their heads together and working together for a common cause. Next slide, please. So Arise Now has set some big goals, really big goals. As I said earlier, it's a multi-year journey. It's not a one-time project. This isn't, I'm building a town square. This isn't, I'm building a river walk. This is, pulling it all together into a long-term, multifaceted project goal. Our goal for Arise Now is a $10 million project. And I'll talk a little bit about what falls into that $10 million, but I wanted to at least let you all know kind of where we're at. We did kick off October of 2017, so a little over a year ago. It was announced at our Forward Janesville luncheon in October, and it was announced with two $1 million contributions from the Blaine Gilbertson family and the Janesville Foundation. And then a year later, so just this last October, we kicked off our community campaign, which was in between that year span. It was a lot of personal conversations, one-on-one conversations, outreach that kept the momentum going, but those personal conversations. And then this last October, we kicked it off with the community campaign. And today we are just about 5.2 million has been pledged. And of that, you can't read that blue box really well. My apologies for putting that kind of color behind there. But certainly contributions, that 5.2 represents individuals, businesses, foundations, grants, everything from $5 contribution to something with a few more zeros behind it. It's really everybody getting involved. You can make a one-time contribution or a multi-year pledge up to 5 years, which is we're finding very helpful to some folks to be able to participate at a little higher level than maybe they can on a one-year pledge. And then of course, I think I also put up there online contributions you can do through credit card and PayPal, and I'll talk about where our website's at too. It's always been an iconic development for the community, by the community. So this is your project. This is our project. We want everybody to find a way to get involved. Next slide, please. So what are the sponsored projects? Most of these are probably very familiar to you, hopefully, if you've driven down the town square area. But the interactive water feature, one of the pieces that is probably readily visible, that was finalized and kicked off this fall. Beautiful piece of art that's a combination of music, lights, and water. And a cute little boy there in front is getting a lot of play. That's Mary Wallish's son. Love that photo. And then, of course, the Blaine Gilbertson Family Heritage Bridge, which Mick will talk about in a little bit. The West Bank Pavilion, which is where the J.P. Cullen Memorial Pavilion is at. That was finalized this last fall, and we held a celebration in September. The Festival Street enhancements. So enhancements are things like the banners, that are graphically pleasing so you know where you're at. It's a welcoming atmosphere. The gateway features you see in the bottom photo there. It's a drawing or a CAD drawing of it. I don't have an actual picture up there. And then some kiosks, which are going to be, it'll be in the next slide in a minute, but those are going to be some informational places to get the events, find out who the donors are, some things like that. Lighting for the Court Street and the Milwaukee Street bridges, which is part of our community campaign for Light Up the Rock. Public art pieces, the first piece in the bottom left hand is a kaleidoscope with our art chairs, Lori and Val there. Beautiful, fun little piece. That was before the flowers were put in, but just like it says, it's a kaleidoscope where you can look through the kaleidoscope and see all the flowers in there, and fun for all ages, that's for sure. And that's really the first of hopefully many more public art pieces to come. East Bank Pavilion, which is going to be the Cope Ryan Pavilion, planned to get constructed in 2020. And then, of course, the East Bank enhancements in 2020 as well, which will also include banners and so forth there. Next slide, please. A few more of the Arise Now sponsored projects. You've got the River Walk going from Court Street to JPAC, which was referred to earlier as the SoCo River Walk. So that's the photo there on the bottom right. You've got the River Walk, Milwaukee Street to Traxler. That'll be down the road a ways, but certainly on our horizon. Informational kiosks, those are the images in the bottom left there. You can kind of see the magnitude of those kiosks. So they're not just a small little piece. They're, you can see a human standing there just to get the size, full, almost like a, I don't know the exact size, but a 50-inch or so TV there that's going to give you your donors. Those are involved in the project. Again, all of the community events. So think of coming up to this piece and maybe it's somebody from out of town, maybe that's somebody that's on an art walk down there, and they're going to be able to stop there, learn about Janesville, learn about where you're at, how to get to some places, where are the restaurants in town, some of those things. There'll be some both on the west side and the east side of the riverbank. Let's see, public art pieces, where we have a donor wall right down in Town Square in the heart of what we're all doing, recognizing all the fabulous donors that we have with this project. And then, of course, the JPAC Educational Outreach Center and technology upgrades. I'll let Nate talk about those here in a little bit and not take his thunder out of the way. So I think that was the tail end of our sponsored projects with Arise Now, just to get you updated so you understand a little bit of the difference between Arise Now, and the projects involved.
Great, thanks, Jolynn. What we're going to do now is go through 3 of the specific projects. So we're going to start kind of upstream. We're going to have Mick talk about the bridge, then we're going to hop in our kayak and head down to Reflections Plaza, take a brief view of that, and then head and end up at JPAC, and Nate will share with us. So, Mick?
Well, good evening, and thank you for coming out this evening and learning more about Arise and what we're doing. This is the first slide that I wanted to share with you. It's a picture of where the Blaine Gilbertson Heritage Bridge will be located. As you can see, I'll try to point it out here, Milwaukee Street is in this area, Court Street is in this area. The Heritage Bridge is really spanning across the town square from the west side to the east side. The idea there is that we have a bridge 300 feet to the north, another one 200 feet to the south, but those are traffic bridges and pedestrian bridges. What we're looking to do is create an iconic centerpiece for town square that's really going to start to unite the east side of the river with the west side of the river and provide some things to happen on that bridge during the day. For example, you could not have an event on Milwaukee Street Bridge or the Court Street Bridge. What we're planning on being able to do is that center section of the bridge. Mike, if you could go to the next slide, please. Again, this shows you kind of where it connects. There's a centerpiece in the bridge here, and one more slide, please, Mike. So this is the shape of the bridge itself, how it connects. The center section out here is about 30 feet by 30 feet. So think about something the size of a classroom at a school. And then the sides that lead up to it, the walkways that lead up to it, start at about 27 feet wide and come down to about 13 feet. So we could put something out in the center. It could be an event, a public speaking event, a candidates forum. You could put a band out there, have a wedding reception out there. Again, these are all programmable spaces that can happen on the bridge that you can either go out on the bridge and join in with, sit on the side of the river, look back at it, and enjoy it there. Again, just way to program, draw more people downtown, make something special. The idea we've talked a lot about with the interactive water feature, we've compared it to the Bean in Chicago. So it's this thing that people want to come and see. This is one more thing that we want to add to the downtown for people to come and see, to use, and make our community a better place. A couple of things that's going to happen alongside the bridge. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a line that kind of goes through here. There's a curved section here on the downstream side, a curved section on the upstream side, leading to this piece with a straight line here and a straight line here. The section that happens right along here and right along here is set off by a transition strip that's going to go down the bridge, and it's going to be a different color to kind of segregate the concrete into 2 pieces. So as you walk down the bridge, there's a pathway where if you want to take a bike, get across the bridge quickly, walk over, grab a cup of coffee quick while you're at work, you can do that. If you want to take your time, sit down, sit on a bench, watch the river go by, maybe fish, maybe sit with the kids, look at things. There's a spot to do that, a little bit quieter space, not so active. There won't be traffic driving behind you, things like that. So again, the idea that you can go out there, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the river. Part of the other thing that we wanted to do was make this a heritage piece. Talk about the families and the individuals and the events that were impactful to the city that we started as a city with Henry James so long ago. So we came up with 6 thematic ideas, one being industry and another one being agriculture. We felt those were some of the first things that the community got involved with and prospered in and led us to where we're at now. When you think about once the agriculture started, the industry started, we produced goods, made things. So what's the next thing you need? You need merchants to sell these things. So there's a lot of retail that happened around the turn of the century in downtown Janesville. So we wanted to think about that as one of the thematic things to explore on the bridge. Another thing that happened is the city started forming and became a government, and so the civic side of things developed. As the city moved forward in time and things changed, the arts and culture became more apparent to the city. Things like JPAC, the high school programs that we have in the community, the performing arts centers, things like that, as well as innovation and technology move forward. You think about where Samson Tractor went from and then on to GM to other things. Other great companies in our community, Prent and GoX, SSI, all these companies that are innovating, making technology better, making this place better, Shine Medical coming in. So it's all part of who we are, part of our heritage, where we're going to. So we want to find a way to try to explore and celebrate that with the community. Next slide, please. So this is just a rendering that Angus Young worked on. The idea is that here's the interactive water feature on the west side, going across the bridge to the east side. To make it iconic, we're working with CodaWorks, who is a artist consultant out of Madison. They're going to help us place public artworks on the bridge. We don't know what that looks like yet, but we're in the process of developing that as we go forward. The idea is that the engineering is complete on the bridge. We worked with Strand and Associates. They did a great job engineering the bridge. The design work, we worked with Dean from Vanderwall Associates out of Madison. He was the original designer for the east and west side. So we have something that's going to fit very well and look like it belongs down here. And next slide, please. Again, a view from the bridge looking back at the landing. You know, a lot of the pieces that we're using on the bridge, like the railing and some of the main features, will match up what we have over there. So again, it's going to fit very well. And then on the next slide, this is where we begin to diverge away and begin to create some of this heritage and placemaking for the community. The idea is that once this base engineering done is, once the bridge is completed, we're going to come back, and I'm going to move over this way. I can see a little bit better. Within the rails, we're going to add panels in the railing that will tell a story about the heritage pieces, the themes that we talked about, whether it's agriculture, industry, technology, civic, things like that. So that as someone comes across, they enter the bridge, there's this walkway down the center where the majority of the people walk, but then you have these side niches off to the side where they can sit, you know, have a cup of coffee, relax, and do other things. So the idea is to really celebrate where we came from and where we're going with this bridge. Connect the two sides of the river, the east side and west side, and just remember where we are, and also leading us to places where we can go. Thank you.
Thanks, Vic. All right, well, I just went off the pedestrian bridge. I took a right on the east bank, and I'm starting to head on the SoCo Riverwalk. How many people know what SoCo stands for? South of Court, yes. So we're going to head into the South of Court area, and we've got some things planned for, That's you, Sherry.
All right. Go ahead. You had one slide left. One more. Oh, no, 2 more. Mick gave up. Okay. All right, so first a little bit about how we got here. So a couple of years ago, as part of my responsibilities with Forward Janesville as a board member, John and I and a couple others went to Pensacola to check out how they had revitalized their community and what we might be able to look forward to of what we would have here in Janesville. And you know, when you're looking around here, you think, wow, this is impossible, right? And so when someone said that they had already done it before, we were very anxious to go down and see how this had happened. And so Quint Studer graciously took us around for a full day and showed us all of the various buildings that had been rehabbed and remodeled and all of the things that we were thinking about doing here as a community. And one of the things that really stood out were the milestones along the way where people had gotten involved and the community really pulled together to do a number of projects like this. And one of the big things that I saw, or the takeaway for me, was that there needed to be something big, a headquarters building in downtown. And you know that story that goes about everybody and somebody, and whose job is it to do that? So as we were sitting in RISE meetings, and even in the Forward Janesville meetings, you know, I was thinking, who are we going to get to do this? Well, Blackhawk Community Credit Union has been part of this community for more than 50 years. We're to a point where we need more administrative office space, and we're constantly growing. And we're growing at such a rate that when the board sat down and put the strategic plan in place, you know, you build a building for it to last, you know, 20 or 30 years into the future. And so when they said what their goal was for the organization and where we wanted to be, I knew that at some point in time we were going to need to build this headquarters. And so I was sitting there thinking, maybe it's us that's going to do this. So that's how it came about. Reflections Plaza, because part of the project is the Legacy Center, which will be the museum-type feature for the folks that worked at GM. Blackhawk Community Credit Union was originally founded by the folks of General Motors, their employees base. And so we really felt like we wanted to honor them in such a way. You know, when you were looking at all the social media and the things that were going on, people had a lot of anxiety about that building coming down. It's been so iconic to this community, and we really wanted to find a way to give back. And because Blackhawk was founded by these folks, we decided that this would be the way that we would be able to pay back the community in a very tangible way. So where's it going to be? This is a project that you saw on the flyover, is the old jail site, the Beeline property, and a couple of city properties that are right by the library. So that's the plan at this point. So along the Rock River, being very symbolic. The groundbreaking, we're expecting that, won't it be cool if we could break this ground in the fall of 2019? It would be the 100th anniversary of when they set the original cornerstone for the GM building. So we have that cornerstone. We're planning on moving it to be the cornerstone of the Legacy Center, and so that would be the groundbreaking, but we would plan to build this facility in 2020 and in 2021. It would go along with that SoCo River Walk that would go from Court Street all the way to JPAC, and that plan for 2020 as well. So an overview of the project, you can go ahead. Well, let me just flip back a second. All right, so some of the components of the building are going to be a conference center the size of about the Holiday Inn Express Conference Center. The Legacy Center, which I talked a little bit about, our offices and a branch location. The market shops, so we'll have some extra space in the building initially that we'll be able to put in some retail shops, some eateries and things like that that our employees will need, as well as the community we like to share. The University of Wisconsin-Whitewater is interested in having space in the building. And if you think about when I'm looking for partners to be part of this project with us, we have hundreds of employees, almost 200 employees right now, and part of what we do at the credit union is we inspire them to go further in their education, whether it's to benefit the members or benefit them personally to grow in their positions. So we see a great relationship between the two of them. So that's how that came about with the University of Whitewater. We will rent out the rest of the space that we don't need initially. And we're planning, and this would be a private project, but condominiums on the top. And you'll see this when we get to the next slide. Go ahead. All right, so in this building, this is on the Water Street side. So this would be behind Citrus Cafe, McDonald Law Office, and Nolan and Mowat. So this is the main building here. Let's see. There we go. All right, so this is the main building. This is where UW-Whitewater would be, probably in 1 or 2 floors up here. We would rent the offices all the way to the main lobby here, and then we would have retail space on this side. Our branch would be there. The Legacy Center you see in the background, and I thought it was kind of cool how they had drawn this or how they had shot this particular picture, because it almost looks like the smokestacks of GM. But that is actually the entrance to the Legacy Center, and then next to that is where the conference center would be. Okay, so next slide. All right, so this is the river view. Again, the restaurant would be on this main level here and come out, and there would be an area here. We've got places already put in place for things like a memorial wall, sculpture that might be there. The Legacy Center will walk out on the riverside so that people can meditate. So the whole idea of Reflections Plaza, I'd started calling it that because as we described what we wanted people to be able to do here, why would we have a museum that honored GM? There were a lot of people that asked that question. And it really isn't about that. It's about honoring the hard work and dedication of the people that worked there, right? And giving them an opportunity to reflect and to bring their families somewhere that they could talk about what it was that they did there. And they were award-winning automotive builders. So I think it's really neat. And that center would connect up with the conference center where we would have our own facility for any of the functions that we do, but it would also be made available to the public or to the members of the credit union. So just a little project.
JPAC. So we're just walking down the SoCo walkway, and we arrive here. So Nate, you've got some updates for us.
Okay. So I'll go kind of quick. I mean, I get the benefit of you actually being in our building, and so you can kind of see what we've got going on. So first off, I want to start with some amazing news. As you know, JPAC is broken up into a couple phases in Arise now, and the first phase was technology upgrades and getting the funding to do our educational and outreach department. And we are proud to announce that we have officially met those fundraising goals. So we were able to, yeah. It's a very exciting time to be a part of Janesville and JPAC. We were able to raise this money in a very, very short amount of time. And I believe it's because the direction that JPAC has chosen to go in the last few years is to really invest in the community and the people that make up this community. We've taken a lot of time to invest in the kids, and we've taken a lot of time to invest in the people and to tell the stories of the people that we happen to make up our community and program and provide shows like Tales of Downtown and Tales of Old Marshall, and put people on display that actually are part of this community, because this is ultimately about people. I'm somebody that grew up here and went off to St. Louis for college, and then I went and lived in Los Angeles for 8 years, and even though they're bigger cities, it's all about the same thing. People ultimately invest in people. And I think that that story is important, and I think that that was one of the reasons that we were able to be so successful in what we've been able to do. I mean, sure, it's easy to tell someone that our light board still operates on floppy disks, and have people understand that, but I think what's important to know is that you upgrading that lighting board helps light kids that are up on stage, and it's not necessarily putting them on Broadway, but giving them the skills to be professionals in the real world and giving them the opportunities to grow and succeed. So this happens to be the old pool that a lot of you swam in. I hope you're proud of it. Yeah, I hope all that stuff wasn't in there when you were swimming in it. But that's what it happens to be, and I think that, you know, you swam and played in it when you were younger, and you can go to the next slide, Mike. And it's going to be adapted into an open creative space that we can hold classes and workshops, and basically just invest more in the kids and what we view as important in this community. And go one more slide, Mike. Oh, I'm in the bed. So, but I mean, you get the gist of what we're trying to do here. JPAC is more than a building. I always try to stress this to people. We're beyond a theater that happens to be down at the south end of Main Street. I'm very metaphorical, so bear with me here. I'm an artist. And so we're a tree, and the tree happens to come here, and the roots go throughout the area. And so JPAC's real job is to get out into the community doing things besides just within this theater. So what we're going to be concentrating on in the next few years is continue being a great partner for Arise Now and getting out and doing programming in some of these other areas that like the JP Cullen Pavilion or downtown or on Festival Street. And there's lots of ideas that pop up, such as, not to get anyone hopes up, or this is not a major announcement, there's tons of things that have to go, but getting the idea of a free Shakespeare event downtown, or helping out with the concerts at the Roth Pavilion, figuring out a way that we can go in there and help activate these other places, because without a strong downtown and strong area, we can't succeed. And JPAC's not done with Arise Now yet. Now, we have got major plans, such as an amphitheater between us and the library that is part of a second phase. And even though we've hit our funding, I think it's important to note that, what's nice about us being able to raise that money so fast is we can concentrate on things that are still very important to us, like yearly operating income. One thing that's important to know is this added, this didn't take, all this money doesn't go to our general operating fund for the year. We still have to raise that money, and we've got a thing going on right now called our Angels campaign that raises 10% of our operating budget, and so it gives us a chance to focus on that. And as long as that's healthy, we can continue to grow and reinvest in the community like we've been doing. So I hope that makes sense. You're always welcome to stop by and say hi to me. It's not a problem. I think that it's important that the kids mean a lot to everyone that works here, especially to me. I mean, my first acting teacher happens to be in the audience today. And so Edie, who started teaching me when I was 7 years old. And I came back here because I wanted to raise my kids here. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are moving back to do that. So that's why this is important. This does bring people back to the community. I'm one of them. So thanks.
To wrap up our Rise 101, have Dave Marshak and Emily Arthur share, which is what I view is really the city is a critical backbone, the infrastructure, and then the private citizens. And Dave?
Thank you. As Oakley mentioned, I've been involved in downtown for about 15 years with DJI and its predecessor to the DDA. We like three-letter acronyms. And 15 years ago, the organization would raise money by passing the hat at our board meeting or knocking on doors and raising $25 to put a planter up. What you've seen, this is so exciting. And for someone that's been digging at this for 15 years and talking about momentum, it's really happening. And so we've heard about a lot of great projects and big things that are happening. And the bid in DJI is kind of like the blocking and tackling. For all you football fans, it's kind of the stuff you've got to do to make things happen. We've got all these great spaces, we've got to activate them, right? We've got to bring people down and to enjoy them. So in 2015, when the city adopted the Arise plan officially, we at DJI started talking about, okay, we need to get serious now. We need to be a part of this. What can we do to help make this be successful? As we looked at other cities that were successful, one common thread that we saw were business improvement districts. Now, I've been involved long enough to have been through another business improvement district push, and that one didn't go so hot. But we really felt it was time to look at it again. So what is a business improvement district? Basically, it's a geographic area where all the property owners pay a special assessment, and all those funds go in and are turned right back into that same geographic area to improve that area with programming, management, and things like that. So next slide, please. So why did we decide, okay, now it's okay to do it? Why try it again? The revitalization is in full swing. Like I said, we've talked about momentum for 15 years at least, probably more than that, but since I've been around. But it was really happening. We could see that this one felt different. Arise Now, there's private money being raised. So that's been very helpful. And then a lot of commitment from both the private and the public sector. The city of Janesville has committed serious resources and dollars. You see a lot of private investments in properties downtown and redevelopment. So all these things kind of told us, okay, yep, let's take another run at this. Next slide, please. We had to do it different, though. The last effort didn't go well. There was a group of us that sat in a room and came up with what we thought was a really good plan. And then we went out and told people, here's what we're going to do. What do you think? We took a very different approach. Like I said, we started talking about it in 2015. And then throughout 2016, we had a couple of public meetings, informational sessions. We brought in Chuck Law, who was the state expert on bids. We brought in a panel of bid executive directors from some of those peer communities that we had talked to for question and answers. We did a citywide survey asking people, what do you think should happen in downtown? And so it was more of a grassroots effort. We really wanted to involve the downtown business community and make sure we came up with a plan that they could support. And so then we created a focus group, and we were very purposeful about who we chose. And we chose people that were really against the bid last time because we thought, why were you against it? What can we make happen that would be good and get you behind it? And also we brought on supporters. We tried to get from all the different business segments because a service business needs something different than a retail business, needs something different than a restaurant. So we needed to make sure we had a good representation. And so that focus group over the next year or so hammered out what we thought was a pretty good plan. But it was developed by them. It was developed by the business. It wasn't a group sitting in a room that took it out to the community. It was the downtown community that developed this plan. Next slide, please. So kind of the nuts and bolts. Our bid has 3 different zones. I can tell you this is very unique. There's one other bid in the state that has a zone concept, and that's Wisconsin Dells. But this is something that came out of those businesses in their input. Obviously, Zone 1 is the Maine and Milwaukee corridor. You know what? They're going to get the most benefit about this. That's where the events are going to happen. That's where a lot of the stuff's going to happen. But there's really benefits to the whole downtown. But as we move out, they're less. So we came up with a staggered or a zone approach. Next slide, please. So what does all this really mean? Basically what it means is downtown now doesn't have to pass the hat at our DGI meetings to raise money for a flower basket. We have a dedicated recurring funding source to help improve downtown Janesville in these following categories, which is kind of the in the operating plan: downtown beautification, signage and banners, enhanced snow removal. That's an issue, folks, and we're working on that. Enhancing our events, business recruitment and retention. We got to make sure we're bringing new businesses down and keeping the ones we have. Marketing, in some special projects, and Emily can talk a little bit more about some specifics. Next. So bid and DJI, kind of like Arise and Arise Now, are they the same? Well, they're not the same. Really what the bid is we're the funding source. We are that recurring funding source that can help accomplish the key goals in the annual operating plan. DJI is the organization that rolls up their sleeves, gets in there, gets the volunteers, and puts those dollars to work. The biggest connection and the best thing about this bid is Emily. We now have a dedicated bid executive director, a paid staff that is out there talking to the businesses, finding out what they need, making sure that we're activating these spaces and doing what we need to do to continue to improve downtown Janesville. So I'll let her go from here.
So I get to walk you through some of the fun things that we have been able to do so far. With bid funding as well as help from DJI, they are huge volunteer supporters for us. So this year has truly been amazing so far. With all the excitement and everything going on downtown, we have had increased attendance for all of our events, including 2 sold-out wine walks. We've never done that before, and we are very excited that we have so many people coming downtown. We have also been able to add Music at the Marv, which is an extension of the, go back one side, sorry, which is an extension of the Main Street concert series that the city puts on. We've been able to take that, boost it up a little bit, and we're able to partner with them next year and include that June through August. We've also been able to throw our first trick-or-treating event, which was amazing. We expected probably 500 people. We had over 3,000 kids show up to this. So this is truly a testament to how amazing things have been and the revitalization going on in downtown. We've actually also been able to hire a trolley to come to different events. So our 2 wine walks, trick-or-treating, Jolly Jingle, our Meander event. So that has been super fun for everyone. We have also been able to increase our merchandise, including downtown gift certificates. So you can purchase 1 gift certificate from us and use them at many of the businesses downtown. So that's a really exciting program. We've also been able to put up new banners in downtown, so I hope that you have been able to see that. Shop, live, work, play, stay. Those are really fun in downtown. We have also been able to put up a chalkboard at events. So this is great for us to engage the community, hear what you guys want in downtown, and take some ideas from you. So we're really excited to have that at all of our events. We've also been able to do a co-op billboard program. So we worked with 12 different businesses this year and have been able to put billboards up throughout town, outside of downtown. So this is exciting to bring people downtown, announce new businesses, and share some things that are going on. Communication alone has been a huge improvement. We've created informational packets and have gone out to all the businesses and have created a database of information, emails from the businesses. This is huge. We did not have we probably had 25% of emails, contact info from businesses. So that was my first thing when I came on, was to get out there, get everybody's contact info, which now we can better communicate with the businesses, hear what they need, and just giving them a face to come and talk to if they have issues going on or they need some help with some things. So we've been able to put a monthly newsletter out, which has really helped us. Also, a huge thing when going around and talking to the businesses was parking. So we've actually taken that back to DJI. We've created a parking committee, which has already been able to work with the city to put up different signage in downtown. We've now marked all of the lots in downtown. We've changed some of those 1-hour to 2-hour parkings and switched some of those things around. We are also the ones that really push to increase enforcement. So we're really happy to work with the city and get some of those things going. We've also been able to increase our plantings. So next spring, we have tons of tulips planted. So hopefully those will come up and look very bright and cheery. We've also been able to increase some of our seasonal decor, which includes fall decor, which we've never been able to decorate for fall before. So I hope you guys have been able to see that downtown. Have you switched slides? And just alone 2008 has been a great year. This kind of shows you our 2019 budgets. So our bid budget combined with DJI budget. As you can see, DJI does not have a huge budget. We're basically funded through our events. So those 2 big wine walks are huge major contributors to our funds. So being able to boost up design committees and events committees and those different things is huge. Next year, so something super fun and exciting, we will be announcing more in February. We are able to create a new facade grant program. So this is going to be a matching grant program to help people increase lighting in the back alleys, fix up their back entrances, getting ready for some construction, increase signage, painting, fix up spaces, new storefronts to bring in new businesses. So we're really excited about that. Some other fun things in 2019, we have added 3 new events for next year. So Flannel Fest will be in February. If you haven't seen, we've already started promoting some things on Facebook. We've got a billboard up that says flannel is coming. So hopefully we're getting people really excited about that. Playpalooza will be in partnership with 608 Day next year. So 608 Day is a second-year event. Last year we created that just to celebrate living in the 608. So something super fun and exciting to bring people downtown. That falls on a Saturday this year. So we will be launching a new event, and that's Playpalooza. And then we are actually also doing a street fair in August. So that will be along Festival Street. We'll bring in some different businesses that could potentially be new businesses in downtown, bring some businesses over from Milwaukee Street, Main Street, just have everybody in a central location. We are also extending the Main Street concert series, which I mentioned earlier, which we've transformed into Music at the Marv, because it's the Marvin Roth Pavilion, so a fun twist on the name. So we're actually partnering with the city next year to continue those concert series from June through August. Oh, sorry, that was my last slide. Switch back. My slides got a little mixed up. So all of this does not happen with just a few people and these people up here and just a few people on DJI. We have many, many ways for you to get involved, so please reach out to us if you have any interest in partnering with us in downtown. We've got a design committee, marketing committee, economic development, our events committee, and as I mentioned, a new committee, our parking committee. So whatever interest you have, we definitely have a place for you to help and volunteer. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So if someone tomorrow says, Millie, what's happening downtown Janesville, will you have 1 or 2 data points to share? You bet, absolutely. So I would hope, we're going to get to questions now, but I would hope that, I promised you Arise Downtown Revitalization 101, right? And it's amazing, all the work that's going on with all these different entities and people. But we really wanted to give you a broad brushstroke, wanted to take you behind the scenes because there should be no behind the scenes. This is a community project. So we're thrilled about that. And at this point, we've got people with a lot of knowledge who have worked hard, also in the audience. But what questions do you have for our panelists? We're going to open it up. Yep.
Here, let me get you.
You can purchase them through us. So if you reach out to myself, bid at downtownjanesville.com or the phone number. So grab a card from me when you come down to the information booths, and you can call me to purchase those.
And you have a website.
We do have a website.
And your email's on the website.
It is downtownjanesville.com.
So, more questions?
Hi, I was just wondering if the city ever considered moving some of the city offices into some of the more vacant buildings in downtown. I don't know if there are structural issues with the building of where the city offices are, but I think I remember there was some sidewalk problem or plaza problem. So just wondering if that was an opportunity for the city to invest in the downtown itself.
Good question. I don't believe at this point in time the city is looking to occupy space outside of City Hall with the recent modifications that have been made. Formerly in the past, that has been something that occurred, particularly at the building right next to City Hall, which is at the northwest corner of Franklin and West Milwaukee Street. But at this point in time, I don't believe that there's a demonstrated need for moving in that direction.
More questions? Got some over here? No, we're keeping Jim busy. It's okay. Jim McCulloch is the Director of Education Outreach, so he's used to running around with kids.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the information, and thanks to each of you for doing what you do. This is awesome. My question is actually for Dave, and it goes to the bid. Approximately within that heat map, what percentage of owners are part of bid?
The bid, what percentage of property owners?
Right, because not everybody has to sign up, correct?
Yes, they do.
They did, okay, because that
Yes.
was one of
It is.
the.
It's not an optional bid. The only thing that's excluded would be tax-exempt properties or properties that are strictly residential.
Okay, thanks for clarifying, appreciate it.
Other questions? Got a question back there? think from one of the Jets players, who helped plant the tulips, right? There we go.
I know there was some consideration. There was a study done by an outside company considering a new sports facility in the downtown area, including an ice rink, and we wanted to know what kind of results we've heard from that, and if none yet, when we might hear some.
That's great. Good question.
Yeah, thank you. The question is, when will the results of the indoor sports study be completed and revealed? The consultant that's been hired to conduct that study is still assembling that information, and I believe sometime in February. When? Second meeting in January, they're going to present that information. So thank you, City Manager.
Other questions? All right. Well, we got one back there. Is that Nate's dad? Is he going to ask you what time you're going to be home tonight?
One question regarding the river retaining walls. Is there any talk about enhancing the appeal and the appearance of the concrete retaining walls along the river at this point or not?
I don't know that I can answer that question. I think the river wall will need some sort of treatment given its current condition with respect to the some of the damage that's been incurred over this last high water event, specifically in the area just south of the Milwaukee Street Bridge. Obviously, it's restoration where access to the river on the east side for operational purposes with construction will need to be addressed, and I think more information on that will be forthcoming.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like I know with the water levels going up and down, and if there's a type of plaster or paint. Last time I was down at Block 42, out having lunch along the river, looking westward, you see that concrete wall. I was just thinking, boy, that'd be really nice if something could be on that wall instead of just a dirty concrete. And to me, that would be really appealing as far as enhancing the looks down there. But
sure, I think we're aware of that particular, the condition of that structure and the need to address that. But those decisions are still forthcoming within the next couple of years of making improvements on the east side and with construction of the pedestrian bridge and the Milwaukee Street reconstruction.
thanks.
Good. Got another question? Yep.
I noticed there's areas downtown that have the paintings on the walls, the murals, which really look really nice. And it occurred to me thinking, couldn't we partner with the high school art teams and find spaces that are either public or private, people want to paint murals along the city, especially in areas as you gain entrance to the downtown. One example might be the viaduct at on Parker Drive, about 2 blocks north of Center. As an example of spaces we could enhance the city and area downtown with murals, with the volunteer help from the schools.
And Jolynn, that's a great idea, and that's what this is about, is ideas. And on the survey, ideas like that, we want you to put them on. But you want to just brief quick overview of the art committee?
Yeah, so we have an art committee that's part of our Rise Now group, and actually murals is one of their projects that they've been kind of researching and investigating, and certainly I'll share that idea with them as well. And hopefully you've seen the new mural, the postcard, Janesville, that's in the Doty Street Alley area that was just constructed this fall. It's a beautiful piece by our local artist, but certainly I think pieces like that, additionally in the downtown areas, is a draw. So thank you for the input.
And that was an example of yet another partner, Leadership Development Academy project. So it's not an Rise Now. I mean, everyone can get involved. So I saw one other question, or there?
I just have a comment, not a question. I had an office space, a studio downtown from 1997 to 2006, and I remember going to a few different meetings about downtown revitalization. And it was always exciting, but nothing stuck, and nobody really picked it up. And all I want to say is I want to congratulate each and every one of you on stage, and also the people in the audience who are involved with this. This is such an exciting time to be in Janesville right now. And yeah, thank you all.
I see your hand up. Yeah, we got one there.
It is indeed exciting, and I think we see the Lark, Velvet and Tulle, Bodacious Shops. Tell us more about what is going on to recruit small businesses to downtown Janesville, and if we have people who are interested, who should we be getting them in touch with?
We'll start with you, Dave. Dave, Emily, Dave, Dwayne.
Sure. You know, one of the things that we've looked at and it was kicked off is pop-up shops, which gives businesses an opportunity, if we've got a vacant spot, an easy way for them to get in and test it out. And I know we had 12 pop-up shops at the Meander.
We had 14 pop-up shops. A few were just businesses that are in other places of Janesville that came closer for that Meander event. I can tell you that one pop-up shop was in a vacant building downtown and has sent me an email that they are in talks with the building owner to either lease or purchase that building. So it's very excited, things like that, and getting people into our spaces and showing them how we're activating with events to get them excited about permanently coming downtown.
So if someone's interested, they contact you because you're in and
Yep.
about. And then Dwayne, who in the city would someone reach out to? Looking at any
Contact-
financing or ideas?
Yeah, the Economic Development Department, Gail Price in particular, and his staff.
Great. So you got Gail Price at the city, you've got DGI, Emily. Good. All right. Other?
I got one over here, Oakley.
Yeah. Oh.
Over the years, the Janesville Velo Club, the Rock Trail Coalition, the Ice Age Trail Alliance has all worked together on getting more people, in a way, downtown on bikes or walking. And we've recently done an application for Janesville as a bike-friendly community and got our initial response back, which was the honorable mention level, which is like kissing your sister type thing. But it's not getting us to where we need to be yet, but we have a committee who's working on it. And certainly the downtown gives a central focus, a place for people to get to. And so we need to have the bike lanes and the trails and stuff so that people can feel comfortable riding from their homes downtown. And the Court Street bike lanes help, but the more stuff that can be done, the better. And you need bike lanes, racks downtown.
Right. Great. I remember when my husband and I first came back to Janesville 20 years ago, we had little kids and the Pickerings were here with their little kids. And you're trying to get all their energy out before you take them home. And going down on the trails and walks on that was just one of the things that struck us about this area. So thank you. All right.
Yeah.
We'll take one or two more questions and then we've got the gallery to continue this conversation and food.
All right. I've lived here 46 years, and I like this place. We're not going anyplace, and of course now we're in our 80s, so it's too late in a way. No, this is really a great place. One of the things I'm really impressed by is the educational system. When our kids, when we moved here, they were only like 4 and 1 year old. And I thought, well, I was a social worker for 43 years. And I thought, well, we'll stay here 3 or 4 years and then we'll go some other place, because we'd lived in 5 other states before we moved here in 1972. But to get to some of my thoughts about the Arise and so forth, let's see. I would like to see in the Legacy Center an auto and truck museum, antique types, and we have a Samson tractor, we have a Samson truck, and of course we got 90 years, almost 90 years of assembling Chevrolets, and I think there should be representatives of those years that those cars and trucks were assembled. Also, I don't think we should leave out Parker Penn. We should have something in that museum, if we have a museum where there's people in town that have all kinds of displays of Parker pens. In fact, some of them have some huge displays, which they could rent to the museum or something like that. Finally, I'm concerned too about the beauty of the sides of the river. You know, that was built by the WPA way back in the 1930s. And I'm also concerned with the rock. If you study Janesville history like I have, you will find out the big rock down here near the Monterey Bridge, that was a compass for our first settlers. Now, Henry Janes, he first came over here at the corner of Main and Milwaukee. There's a plaque on the Lappin Hayes blocks which says here's was his cabin. And of course, he was our first postmaster, et cetera, et cetera. But the area down around the big rock, I mean, as I understand it, kids have been going down there, they take them on field trips, but the way that looks right now, it's not very presentable, it's not very beautiful, and of course the sides of the river, I think, need to be worked on, and yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. For the idea of I've heard some ideas of a car. I know you can't commit on all of this. And at this point, we've got questions, and that's why we've got a gallery talk, and we want to continue this. No question is a bad question. No idea is a bad idea, and that's why you've got your survey. So I know there's food down there, and I want to take advantage of that. So. Just, is there going to be a car in the Legacy Center?
Of course there'll be a car in the Legacy Center. So we have a Samson tractor. We have a 1923 Chevrolet that will be on display. We're planning a rotating car that would come in for a period of time. And then we're also planning that we would have that same kind of feature, a car that would be in the lobby of the Blackhawk Community Credit Union as well.
Thanks. I want to thank everyone for coming. You guys are all going to get continuing education certificates on downtown revitalization. There's wonderful food. There's the bar is still open. We're going to ask you to complete your survey, right? We've got to capture this. We've got to continue this conversation. Join us in the gallery. There's tables. Every organization that's up here has a website. I'd encourage you to do that. Several people, I think all of us have talked about the key word. It's about people. Downtown is more than just buildings. It's the heart of our community. It's where we can say hi to strangers. It's where we can face social issues like homelessness. It's where we can go to watch a parade for free. It's where we can have fun with our families. So it's our home, it's our town, and we're proud of it, and I think you all are, and I'm thrilled to have you here, so thank you very much. Thank you, panelists.